Hey guys, so I'm an idiot and I accidentally pressed stop recording on this video, so I guess this is going to be a two-part video. I do apologize. I am a big dum-dum. So I left off talking about how both these guys would be really good technical models for high schoolers, especially if you're just learning, because they're so rhythmic and have such simple technique, and their tempo is so good through the ring. They have super easy movements, don't do quirky things, and it just gets the job done. So I would say, like, if you're like, especially like someone who's just learning the spin, let's say Randy Barnes or like Brent Noon, basically the same thing in terms of technique. I would say that they're great technical models to have. And honestly, just going to sound controversial, I'd say Brent Noon probably would be a better one because I kind of like his finish just a little better. I think he just stays on the shot just a little bit more and has a little more of a textbook finish, I would say. But, it's not like Randy Barnes doesn't have a good finish. But, yeah. So, I guess because this is going to be a two-part video on complete accident, I guess in this video, I'll break down technique. And guess what? Yeah, we'll just do it like that. Because I went on, I guess, a 29-minute rant or something like that in the other video, and I didn't really mention that much specific stuff about their technique. So, we'll just do in this video. And I'm going to be talking more about Randy Barnes, but all the stuff I'm going to say about Randy Barnes pretty much applies to Brent Noon. But when I talk about the finish, then there'll be some separation there. But let's get started. So both of them, Brent kind of winded a little further, not that much in terms of his upper body. It could also just be the camera angle as well, and maybe a little more hunched over. I think Randy Barnes is a little more neutral. Like his chest is a little down, but I would say this kind of wind style is more, I would classify as relaxed. It's not like they're Darlin Romani or Joe Kovacs. It's just a nice, easy, just super balanced, stacked. Their hips under them, knees over toes. Great, like neutral, they're not super wide, they're not super short. Just a nice, easy, like you could do a back squat from this position kind of stance. It's like, just a nice, easy heels under shoulders stance. Just a nice, super balanced, stable, relaxed wind and position at the back. And then they both get here. Keep their left arm inside, kind of like Gerd Cantor a little bit, who I was comparing a lot because he's like my Randy Barnes of the discus world in terms of just simple technique. Although maybe I would actually say John Powell, now I come to think about it. But I just like Gerd Cantor better, so I'm just biased. But in terms of technical models, I'll always take a simple thrower who does simple stuff and still throws far over someone who does a lot of grandiose gestures and through the ring and whatnot and gets almost the exact same results or less results usually. Just because simple technique, one, is a lot easier to copy, two, is more consistent, and three, is just easier to do, which leads into the consistency part. But yeah, that's mainly what I look for in a technical model if I recommend a technical model to someone, just in general. But let's get back to this. So they hold their left arm a little bit in. It's hard to also tell because of the camera angle. But you can see here Randy Barnes uses the left arm a little sooner and turns just a little bit more. They both have a low. Actually, Randy Barnes' left heel is really low to the ground, almost like stall a little. Or Brent Noon, his left heel rises quite a bit, actually. That's actually surprising. Their sweep leg is pretty much the same. This position is pretty much the same. Actually, come to think about it, it might. Honestly, I think they actually do use their left arm at the same time. It might just be because this is filmed at a different angle than this. Just a little bit. But fact that they get, yeah, I would say they're, it's probably just about the same. Maybe Randy Barnes uses it a little sooner, but that's like a, hit or miss kind of thing. I think it might just be the camera angle. But really, the left heel is the interesting part to me in terms of the height. And really, that's one of the big differences. Now, I don't know why. Again, like, they're not the exact same person. They just throw really, really similar and hit very similar positions. But this is one of the few positions that they hit a little different. I also noticed that Brent Noon doesn't turn his left heel all the way. So he kind of does a little bit more of what Gert Cantor does, or like a Mikolos Alekna does, where you see how like he kind of falls back just a little bit in a good way. Like he's not breaking at the hips, but he's setting direction with this left hip bone to linear. So I think Mikolos Alekna does this extremely well and is one of the big reasons why he throws super far. And the same thing with like a Gert Cantor as well. Well, Randy Barnes, he does do it, but to a lesser extent. He more does a traditional, like 180 out the back and keeps turning. Where Brent Noon, he kind of gets that left knee outside of his left foot, and that dictates the turn instead of the left foot. Whereas Randy Barnes' left foot, it dictates the turning of the left foot. Like you can see, Randy Barnes' left knee is pretty much in line with his toe. And I would say Brent Noon's left knee is way outside of his toe and leading the throw. I would compare it like to a Daniel Stahl compared to a Gert Cantor, especially because Daniel Stahl would be the Randy Barnes, and then Gert Cantor would be this. Just different styles, for two different guys. Both work extremely well. So let's get to this part. I do think this higher left heel, which I personally don't like that Brent Noon does, is leading to a little bit more of fallen. Not really a fallen, but just a little bit too much of an angle with this chest in terms of it being a little more down. Again, that could also just be the angle. This isn't really the greatest angle in the world. And also this footage is filmed on a potato. So, I can't really see that well in general and in this video. Oh, actually, is this Olympic Trials? Because that looks like Godina. That looks like Godina, but... Oh, no, actually, or is this... Oh, that's Godina in a UCLA uniform. This might be when Brent Noon was in the NCAA, actually. Now that I come to look about it. Yeah, oh, actually... Oh, I think this is the ring... I think this is the meet where... I think this is the NCAA Finals, because I think... Now that I actually saw Godina, I think this is where Godina broke the NCAA record when he threw 22. Oh, what do you know? The more you know, huh? Interesting. Anyway, I just got completely distracted. I literally just noticed that. I actually have never really seen this video of Brent Noon before. I don't really watch a lot of them because I'll just watch Randy Barnes. But the videos I do see of him is him not in the NCAA. And, I guess that does look like a school uniform. Again, I can't really see it that well, so I didn't even realize that this was him in the NCAA. So this also might not be a fair comparison, to be completely honest. Simply just because, Randy Barnes this is his world record throw, and this is Brent Noon in the NCAA, and not Brent Noon post-collegiate and training partners with Randy Barnes. So, this could be... Brent Noon could have cleaned up some stuff. I would hope so later in his career. But again, I don't know. Or he could have been training partners with Randy Barnes. This is why I don't really say stuff like that unless I have an actual clear source of it. So I don't know the exact date that they became training partners. I just know they were for a little bit. And yeah, but anyway, let's get back. So we were here. So right here, I would say Brent Noon honestly probably has a little more of a modern day technique where he holds the chest just a little bit better in the middle. Whereas Randy kinda lets this arm dip a little. Honestly, excuse me, kind of like a Reese Hoffa kind of thing, where they kind of let the left arm drop just a little bit and then bend the left elbow just a little bit to help them stay centered into the ring and help them not drift too far, which is normally what you see some taller people do, or people who are super linear base throwers, which both these guys are. That was pretty typical at the time too, just because the glide was so popular. Even so at this time, more so I'm talking about Randy Barnes, because I guess Brent Noon was pretty much that era. But yeah, I just think Brent Noon does a little better job technically of holding his chest to middle and getting a little more separation. I think Randy Barnes in this throw could have held his chest just a little bit better, but that's like a minute thing. Again, this was a world record that stood for like 30 plus years, so I mean, like, it's obviously a good throw. And this series in general is honestly insane, because I think he had, obviously, I think his first throw was like 20, was honestly not even that good, and then I think it was the second throw that he threw the world record, and then he had like a 2280 and then like a 2270 and like a 22. It was it was honestly, I know it sounds like it was a Krauser series basically, except that Krauser does it every meet now. But yeah, and then I think at the following week actually Randy Barnes threw like 2301 or something, which is insane to just follow the world record up with another throw over 23 literally like a week later. So, which honestly I think is a better technical throw. I'm gonna be completely honest. But whatever. I just picked this video. I was literally just gonna do a video on Randy Barnes, but this video just so happened to have the best angle and quality, and it just so happened to have Brent Noon, so I just decided to do both of them. But whatever. But anyway, again, I'm sorry, I get so off track and so distracted so easily. Let me get back to the actual technique. All right, so we get here, right foot lands. I really like this position in the middle a lot more than this one. I think Randy Barnes does a super good job of pre-turning his hips in the middle. And notice I say hips and not foot, because you can pre-turn your foot and your hips can be behind you. Like, I've seen people where their hips are where Randy's are now, but their foot's already grounded, and that's not good. So I think Randy Barnes does a super good job of connecting his hips and his legs together to land super stacked. I really love this position. Brent Noon's is okay. I think he throws like a little more stiff than Randy in this throw. But like that's like a little nitpicky critique. I mean, and I think like he doesn't land as stacked and as good. But again, that could also be the camera angle. But as Randy, again, obviously this is a better throw. Now that I actually know that this is Brent Noon in the NCAA, I'm pretty sure his technique definitely clear. I mean, I would hope your technique would improve from when you competed in college to, being a pro. It would be kind of weird if it didn't. But, so, again, like, the stuff I'm saying about Brent Noon, he could have cleaned up. Or it's just him throwing, in which case, good on you. Again, like, I'm saying Randy Barnes throws better. But, to be fair, this was the world record, I would say, at the time, and literally like before 5 years ago. So I mean, it's obviously gonna be probably a better throw, I would say, to a guy in the NCAA. Call me crazy, but whatever. So if you get butthurt in the comments, sorry. But once again, I wouldn't make a video on people if I didn't like them. Unless actually I make a video about not liking them. But I don't really do that much. Actually, I don't think I really ever done it. I guess you can maybe say the Jurgen Schall video I made, but if you actually watch the video, I don't hate him. I think he's probably the 5th best discus thrower ever. But whatever, this is not the point. Again, I'm getting off track. Let me actually get to the middle. So yeah, this position, I would say out of both of them, I would pick this one. I would pick Randy's position a little better. Just because it just looks more stacked. It's a lot more. I really personally like to coach a pre-turn. Because I think it's a lot more advantageous. It can speed you up a lot better. It can provide a lot more momentum. And if you're athletic enough to actually do it and your technique permits it, I would say at least give it a shot. Because it can add a lot to your throw and just make your throw so much easier. But it is a very hard thing to do correctly, and Randy Barnes does it extremely well. Now, Brent Noon doesn't pre-turn as much, just a little bit, but not nearly as much as Randy here. I say Randy like I know him in the first person. But Randy Barnes. And then let's get to where they ground in the middle. The front. So Randy lands a little more wrapped. But honestly, I really like both of these because, the shot put behind their right hip, which is what I classify as a wrap. I don't care. Tom Walsh, I think, is a perfect example of this. Where, technically, his shoulders aren't square to the back and stuff and all that. But honestly, that's a lot less important in shot put than it is in discus. And I defined having a wrap is if the shot put is a little bit behind your right hip, if you're a right-handed thrower, which both of theirs are. So even if your left arm, which none of theirs is, well, Brent kind of. So even though this people would probably say is open, it's not. I classify being open in the front as the shot put being ahead of your hips. That's what I classify being open is. In which case you lose power. Now, obviously, these guys, and I don't know the distance of this throw, but I can comfortably say it's around 70. I could just be totally wrong because this is NCAA, but again, Brent Noon was that guy in the NCAA. He was that guy. I think he's one of the few people to throw over 70 in the NCAA. So, yeah. And I think he actually got second, I think, to Godina in this meet. But I could also be wrong about that. But, yeah. Let's get to the finish, which I think separates them because I like different aspects from both of them. I think I like Randy Barnes' grounded finish in the hips a little better, while I like Brent Noon's upper body position just a little bit better. And what I mean by that, so let's first go to Randy Barnes. I really like how Randy Barnes doesn't land with his left toes pointed pointed like that way. They're pointed there to the direction of the throw. Brent Noon kind of under rotates just a little bit with his right foot and has just a little bit more of like a glide finish, I would say. I think Randy Barnes really grinds the ground and just turns super efficiently and just has such a great grounded finish. Like he gets here and he's working the ground, just staying on the ground and then just transfers forward extremely well. I think Brent Noon transfers forward extremely well as well. But, the right foot, which again, is not like a must. It's more important that you get your hips turned in the throw, which both of them do extremely well. And it's not like Brent Noon isn't turning his right foot. It's just not as good as Randy Barnes. I think that he kind of stops it, waits for the left foot to ground, which is, I think, why he lands just a little bit more open than Randy Barnes does. and then he turns. So I think him and Gadina did this a lot, and this is a style that I wouldn't even say it's right or wrong. It's more of just like, if you have trouble throwing before your left foot actually has weight on it, or throwing too early or reversing too early, I would say that this kind of style, waiting for the left foot to land, and it's not like it takes an eternity, but I would say like that kind of style would help a little bit, because at the end of the day, if you reverse too early, it doesn't really matter what you did before that. You're not gonna get a lot of power into the shot. Whereas Randy Barnes continuously turns his right foot, doesn't wait for his left. Well, okay, sorry. He does wait for his left to ground and have weight, but that happens as a product of him just keep turning his right foot, which is more of what I would coach, because it just leads to a little more of a fluid throw, in my opinion. But both these styles obviously work. A lot of people have had success with both these styles, so it's more of, I'm just pointing out a difference between these two. But like this position, pretty much they get almost to the same position. I would say Brent's position is honestly a little better, and this position I think is what really separates them. Now again, I could be totally wrong, because I can't really see what Randy Barnes' eyes are doing. I can't even see the shot put, because again, this was filmed on potato, because this was in like the early 90s, which was basically the 80s. So I mean, again, I couldn't even read that this was an NCAA uniform. So granted, I can barely see 2 feet in front of me, so that could also be it. But what it looks like to me, at least in these videos, and granted, Randy Barnes is just a little bit more square, which, I guess is good, but then he does what I consider, he kind of pulls off the finish, not really pulls, but I personally like people to hold their eyes to the shot. Like if you look to a video of like Krauser, where the shot put's like just coming off his fingertips, and his eyes are still on the shot. Reese Hoffa, if you just look, I'm just thinking of people who have like the classic like still Getty image photo of their release, and both of them do an extremely good job of doing that, and Brent Noon here as well. Honestly, this position looks a lot like Joakim Olsen, who is also one of my favorite technicians ever, for the reasons I've already explained. And honestly, he threw a lot like them, a lot like both of these guys. I think I would say he threw a little more like Brent Noon, honestly, because I'm pretty sure he liked to stall the right foot just a little bit in the middle as well. But yeah. So anyway, but this position is more of a position that I would coach. I'm not even saying that this is wrong, because honestly, this throw went 23. What was it? It was 75, 10 and a quarter. So I think that was like 23.06 or something like that. 23.06 meters, something like that. Or was it 23.10? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the third best throw in history. So yeah. So obviously, like like you don't throw that far when pulling off. I just think he could have stayed in contact a little bit longer, and he doesn't really extend his elbow that much. Although honestly, that could just be because he just has such a big bicep. It just doesn't look like it. Again, these are just one of the things where I kind of just have to guess, because I literally just cannot see because of the video quality, those finite details. So I could just be totally wrong about that, and I do apologize if I am. But again, not really my fault that the quality's that bad for the video. But and it kind of cuts off on their reverse recoveries, but especially he's not even a frame here, but whatever. But yeah, I would say Randy Barnes overall probably has the better technique. Well, okay, not probably, he does. But there are certain aspects I don't like, certain aspects I do like. Both of them I think are very valid, and both of them if any of you decide to copy either one of them, honestly, like I don't think you'll go wrong, to be completely honest. So I'm not in this video. I know I'm about to say I'm not going to be all ranty, even though I went on like 3 or 4 rants. But again, actually, this is probably a good thing that this is a 2-part video, because otherwise this would be like almost a 50-minute video. But anyway, hope you guys learned something. Again, if you guys haven't watched my first video, I recently just got surgery on my foot, and that's why I haven't uploaded a video in like 3 or 4 weeks. So I've just been dealing with that and the recovery. In fact, I'm still recovering from it. But but I actually feel up to now actually making videos again, both physically and mentally. So yeah, so you can expect a lot more videos coming this week. I don't know about shorts because I physically can't demonstrate a lot of stuff, but I might make some. But videos like this, definitely. In the first part of this video, I mentioned that I think it's going to be Tuesday. I'm going to be making a video about the most influential throwers to me. And again, that's to me, not of all time, or because that's a very subjective opinion. Depending on who you talk to, some of the names are probably going to be some of the most influential in history, but some of them are just very personal and like very obscure people to me, or to a lot of people probably, but not to me. But that's going to be a very like personal video that obviously won't get that many views probably. Not like a lot of my videos do, but again, it will be a very important video more to me, honestly. Which is really what this channel is about, just doing stuff that I want to do and trying to help people technically and just bring awareness to throwers that people might not know or have heard of, or so that's also why I do the underrated series and all that. Most of the time when you watch those videos, it's literally just because maybe people just don't know who the hell they are, which is really sad to me, but that's all. And some of them, like they do unique stuff that I think needs to be brought to the general populace, which I say, but like 5 people watch my videos, but whatever. But anyway, oh god, this is actually longer than the first video. Oops. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, I guess, these 2 videos, even though it wasn't meant to be, but hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys gained a newfound respect for these 2. Again, this won't be an underrated thrower. I might make one on Brent Noon. I hope Randy Barnes is not underrated. Although I think he is, but not in the terms of making a whole video about that, because his accomplishments and distances go without saying. If you don't know, look it up, I guess. But it's just one of those names. If you do shot put or just throwing in general, you got to know who Randy Barnes is. So that's all I got to say. But other than that, thanks for watching. Again, I do apologize. The surgery took a whole bunch out of me. It was my first major surgery ever. I was waiting until I was done throwing to have it, because I wasn't gonna have it when I was throwing. But yeah, it was great. It went well. Still recovering. I probably won't be fully healed for like probably another 6 weeks, so that sucks. But hopefully tomorrow I can get back to actually lifting and stuff. On the road to a 500-pound squat. Now that I don't have to worry about throwing, I can now actually train just strength. And the 500-pound squat is one of the last things on my bucket list that I want to accomplish before I get too old to do it. So, or too broken to do it. So, while I'm still young, in quotation marks, that's something I want to hit. So I might be posting some videos of me lifting. If you guys want to watch that, I don't know why. You just want to watch me squat. But, if you do, go ahead and comment that, I guess. But yeah, and other than that, thanks for watching, and see y'all later. Have a good day.